What is up? Welcome to Take It From Us, where we are having transparent conversations about the experiences of industry leaders. And speaking of leaders, man, I'm sitting next to a leader, and not even just a leader, man. He's an author. He's a storyteller. He's the brains and the mastermind behind the Unseen Journey. He's the producer for I Am Creative, and honestly, he's one of my really, really good friends. Sitting next to me here is Jack Nelson.
What's up, everybody?
Again, like how I introduced you, you're a storyteller, you're an author, I view you as a leader in what you do. I think that you're a really great decision maker. You decide that you want something and then you go for it, yeah. Right? What does your decision making process look like when you are on the field, boots on the ground?
Well, like you said, when I want something, I pretty much just do everything in my power to sort of get it. Now, that doesn't mean that I ignore other people's opinions or people around me. I'm always listening to the input around me. But if I want something, I'm going to find a way to do it and get it. When you do that, it can, be impressive for, a client or something who's like, oh, you really went and did that shot that we told you not to do. It's like, well, might have got in trouble, but it's worth it for the shot a lot of the times.
Tell me about a story when that happened.
I was at I don't remember the name of the stadium. But it was Athletisme in Lausanne, Switzerland. Okay. I'm trying to get into the stadium right where the finish line is because I was about to film Noah coming to the finish. There was just this one French security guard, and we were just going back and forth and back and forth. Neither one of us understands each other. I just keep pointing to my camera. I'm like, camera, and eventually he just gave up. So I mean, that's not to say that French security is bad or something, or I guess Swiss security is bad, but it was just Europe. People are just a little bit more lenient with things like that.
If you guys haven't seen it, the Switzerland Unseen Journey, I mean, I would definitely go check it out. It's on Noah Lyles' channel, but shameless plug. But yeah, I mean, in that experience, I mean, it's like you push forward, right? Because you need the shot, and so it comes together, right? Yeah. So talk about you're in the middle of getting the shot. What are you looking for? What's inspiring you?
Anytime that you're getting a shot, you got to think, this is something that somebody's going to see on a bigger screen,
right?
After, so you want cool movement, you want emotion in the shot, you want a good structure, rule of thirds. Right. You want to be abiding by those technical rules, but at the same time, you just want something that looks cool. Mm-hmm. That's really at the end of it. Like I said, technical rules as far as keep your horizons level. Yeah. Don't hold your camera sideways or off level. Always have your level meter on. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you're really just looking for angles that you would see on a movie screen.
Let's take it a step back, right? Your history is, you were a graphic design student. I mean, yep. Graphic design is your background. Yep. Right. And then you picked up a camera. When did that happen? What was the in between?
Yeah, so like you mentioned, graphic design for 9 years. Just graduated 2 months ago from University of Florida with Bachelor of Fine Arts in Graphic Design. It was in high school. I remember I purchased a Canon PowerShot SX510HS. I was just super fascinated by the zoom and started checking out the video capabilities on it. Shot 1080p. It was pretty cool. And then I was shooting some of my local track meets I used to run. And then eventually, you just grow up from that, you graduate from it, and you move into something like I had a Canon T2i Rebel. And I was just doing photos and photos and photos, but this side of me always wanted to just test out video. Mm-hmm. And so then when I was done with the Canon, I looked for, what I wanted. I wanted 4K. I wanted a sharp picture. Good colors, and at the time the Sony A6300 just made sense for me, and I ended up going with that. But yeah, videos just always I've been fascinated by it. Right.
It's I almost consider video. I'm no graphic design student or whatever by any means, but I do consider video as the mobile version of graphic design, because with graphic design it's still images, right? Still still angles and whatnot, but with video it's a moving subject, right? Yeah. This is really interesting to me. So you said that you just graduated from the University of Florida 2 months ago. You're 22 years old. Yep. Right. You're in the world now, right?
Make it happen.
What what now? Like, what's the plan? Like, where are you trying to go? What are you trying to do?
Yeah, so I mean, this is a conversation I've been having with my girlfriend a lot recently, because she's off in Estonia and she is, learning about, we can do this with our life, we can go travel, we can do all the things. And, like you said, I'm just out of school. I'm kind of figuring it out, paying my rent, making sure my cats are happy,
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't think I need to really rush into anything. I'm just now really moving in the real world. And I know that things don't need to go at 100 miles an hour. We are steadily moving forward. We're talking to, some pretty high level people and impressing them day by day.
Yeah.
And I know that there's huge opportunities coming.
Yeah.
And I know that we don't want to rush into them because rushing is just going to make mistakes.
And I like that, man. I like how you said you don't want to rush into big opportunities, but it's the fact that you know that it's coming too, right?
Yeah.
And let me ask you this. When it comes to leading yourself, what qualities do you need in order to effectively do what you do?
When you're leading yourself, you need to basically be comfortable with yourself in general. You can't be intimidated by others. You're going to find people who do similar things to you, who might do it better, might do it worse. There's somebody who's going to talk about, they're going to be the loudest in the room, talking about their work, and you just sit silently and you observe. You don't be afraid to show who you really are. You don't need to fake who you are to, be successful. Because you'll find that when you're around people who really are successful, they're just being themselves.
What kind of leader would you consider? I mean, like, you said you don't need to be the loudest in the room. I mean, there's some leaders that they're just loud and proud. What kind of leader would you consider yourself? Like what qualities do you hold?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say I'm passive or something, but I would say, yeah, I mean, just on that point of, I don't ever want to be the loudest in the room. And I think the word leader is carrying some different tones here because while I do lead people, dang, that one will get you.
Yeah.
It's all good. I would say that there's a difference between a leader and a boss.
Okay.
Which is, a boss is somebody who tells people what to do, and a leader is somebody who's standing next to those people doing the thing. And that's really the role that I try to take on, because how am I going to, direct somebody unless I know what they're going through at the same time?
When you see something that somebody else should be doing, you're not just telling them what to do, you're showing it.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
What example could you give to bring like a tangible, what tangible example could you bring so that we understand?
Yeah, I mean, today I'm wearing my nice clothes. I want to show off a little bit. Right. Wearing all white. Right after this shoot, I'm going to be on my knees on the ground. I don't care if my clothes get dirty. I am just here to get stuff done.
Yeah.
And, that happens all the time. A lot of times, actually, like in New York, if you actually see any background footage of me, I'm the guy at the track wearing like khaki pants and like a polo. Like, I'm dressed nice. Or in Las Vegas, we're out at the track. I mean, it was such an awful idea. I was wearing dress shoes, dress pants, a turtleneck.
Yeah.
And I'm out of the track and it's like 90 degrees out,
Yeah.
But I'm here to get the job done. I don't really care about, the fancy stuff. It's cool. It's fun to wear. But, at the end of the day, we're here to just get things done. Why
do you think that your outward appearance reflects, the level of like what you're putting out? Like how do you think that goes hand in hand?
Yeah. So, I mean, last night you and I went out and we, looked around and everybody just kind of looks the same.
Right.
And there was a guy who came up to us and he was asking us for advice going into his freshman year. And I was just like, hey man, look around. Everybody here looks the same. Do something, the littlest thing to look a little different, stand out a little bit. Because, that is going to reflect in the other things you do in your life, not just in your outward appearance.
Also,
because you start to think differently. If you're going into your closet each day and you're picking out something different, then you might be editing a video and you try a new effect.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's a great point. The little things that we do in life compound.
Yes.
And they move into the big things that we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, what are you doing when you first wake up, right? It's like, are you, you know, if you first wake up and, you know, I'm getting on my phone because that's what that's what normally, you know, that's something that I would do, right? But instead, you know, if I wake up in the morning, I'm not going to go on my phone. And like that difference, you know, can translate into something bigger, right? Where it's like, you know, if I want to edit a video a certain way, you know, for a client that, you know, everything's on the line, whatever it might be. And I decide that, you know, instead of this, I'm going to do this because normally, or what the expectation is, right, is going to be this, but, you know, instead I'm going to do that, and ends up working out.
The word that I use all the time is experimentation. You know, this is my first time ever wearing this, you know, chest bag. You know, I could have not worn it, but I wanted to experiment. I wanted to see how I felt wearing it. And you just have to be confident in making those decisions. You know, when you're going into editing a video, like you said, there's expectations, and you want to try something new. You want to be different. You want to do the new things. You have to be confident with those decisions that you're making. And so you have to be comfortable with making uncomfortable decisions all the time.
What are some things in your past work and things that you've done? What are some things that you've been curious about that you decided to,
like with the recent New York Unseen Journey video that I worked on? There just really wasn't a whole lot going on. You know, I told you in New York when we wrapped up filming, I was like, look, man, we were here a year ago and I think that I got way better footage. And I would still be on that point of I got better footage last year. There was just more, we did more events. He had a faster time, you know, so on and so forth. This year, you know, we had the fashion walk-in, which was amazing. He tied Usain Bolt's, you know, sub-20 record. And so I was really just kind of looking for like, where's really my story here? You know, that curiosity of like, all right, how am I going to make something from what I really think is subpar to what I had before? And this was like, you know, the Unseen Journey New York last year was the first one of these videos, you know, so I really had to go out and show off a little bit. And it ended up just being that I thought about this video we did recently. You know, we found out that Lyles was facing the same, you know, high school kid. And we didn't really want to draw up a rivalry from it. We had discussed not doing that. But chronologically, just the videos that we've done, you know, it ended up just working out so well. So, you know, I had to entertain the idea for a short while before I was like, okay, this is actually going to work out.
If you look at a situation, right, and it just doesn't turn out the way that you wanted or what you expected, right? We talk about expectations. I feel like discouragement and insecurity about what we thought was there that isn't there can be a killer of curiosity. And like, it can either be a killer of curiosity or it can be the driver for curiosity.
I would allude to another example, which would just be, you know, you can draw up stories from really nothing. But, you know, and you can fantasize stories that might not fully be there, but all the building blocks are there. Right. The difference between adapting a story and working with it and making up a story. And when you're really just making up a narrative, that draws discouragement. You know, that is like, okay, you know, this isn't really truth. It's not based in truth, and therefore I don't want to proceed.
Gotcha. Yeah. So let's talk about that for a little bit, because I love this New York topic, right? Yeah. And I do want to dive in a little bit deeper, but what for the person that's watching this, and you say, and they hear you say, you know, making up a story versus what was the other side of that?
Making up a story versus like adapting.
Versus adapting, right? So like, what are the tangible differences between, you know, a storyteller who is, which by the way, all of you guys are storytellers, right? No matter what you do, you know, no matter who you are, you're a storyteller. But what is the tangible difference between when somebody sits down and they're making something up versus they're adapting? Like where do you draw the line?
Yeah. I mean, making up is when, you know, you're going to somebody and you're just manufacturing a narrative that just does not exist. You know, you're asking them questions that, you know, aren't really relevant. Right. You're trying to push them to say something, and there's a reason that they don't want to say it, and it's probably because it's not true. Now adapting is like, okay, I have all this content already. I might just need a couple pickup lines, like just to bridge some gaps here and there.
Right. And it almost sounds like adapting equals feeling.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like adapting, you're like you're feeling what you're seeing.
Yes.
But when you're making something up, you're just trying to go off of the head knowledge.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, is that
I would
an accurate
say
statement?
that's pretty accurate.
Yeah. Like you know, I'm guilty of this too, where you know sometimes I'll be sitting down with a potential client, and they're telling me their ideas and everything, and I'm just not feeling it.
Yeah.
And instead of saying that I'm not feeling it, I just try to come up with
these
strategies that I've even worked in the past, things I try to make up in my head, you know, and that's a dangerous. I feel like that's a dangerous slope to go down. Going back to New York, right? You know, we're on this trip. Obviously I was there with you.
Yeah. You
know, we're on this trip, and you know, and you said it yourself. You said that you know there's not as much going on, right? You know, the time, you know, the events, the you know whatever. You know, what are you feeling in that moment?
You know, there's been a couple trips that we've gone on, or that I've gone on, that I was not successful in making a video. You know, the content is there.
Right.
You know, thinking long term, it's cool to know that you have those things. But definitely, like, coming out of this trip, all that was on my mind was, this just has to be better than last year's, you know. Which, to be fair, I had a lot of leeway because that, you know, last year was the first one I made, and it was not as refined as they are now. So like I said, I had a lot of leeway. I have new techniques that just kind of work better. But yeah, there definitely was a feeling of like, what am I going to do? And you don't really know that until you're a week later sitting in front of your computer trying to edit.
You know, the statement, it has to be better than last year.
Yeah.
What would you say? Because like I feel like some people would look at that statement and be like, well, that's not something you should be telling yourself.
I think that it's okay to say something like that because, you know, last year it was just, the project was so groundbreaking at the time, for what it was, the first Unseen Journey episode, that I knew that this, you know, Noah Lyles has progressed so much over the last year. I had to show that I had progressed too. Even
in the midst of what we would classify as confusion, you know, discouragement, you know, insecurity about, you know, again, expectation is not being met.
Yeah.
Right. There were certain key moments about this trip that if one was paying attention, you would realize that, oh, there is something here. And it all started on the car ride to the airport.
Yeah.
You know, playing like the feeling of synergy that was created when, you know, Annihilate came on, that song, and I was like, hey, you know, that song's kind of raw, man.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, you know, this might be the vibe. This is the vibe, because we have been discussing that too. You know, or music, and I'm sure you can agree, music is such a big part of film, right?
Yes.
The sound, right?
Yeah. And
so, you know, the music choice was so important. So it started there, right?
Yeah.
And so, which inspired what from the video?
Yeah. So, you know, music, like you said, is just huge. It is a huge part of, I mean, it is 95% of my inspiration for when I'm working.
Right.
And that's simply because, you know, I was talking with our other camera guy, Dominic, the other day, about, you know, Kanye and Pharrell, you know, have what it's called synesthesia, which is basically you see sounds. And that's not to say that, you know, it's unique. Pharrell said it himself. He's like, if you're an artist, you know, you just kind of have this. When you hear music, you know, you visualize, you know, art or a music video or whatever it is that's relevant. And so there's a lot of, you know, mood boarding going into one of these projects where it's like, you know, some of the things that's going to happen. You know, you're going in, you know, he's going to run at practice, you know, he's going to race, you know, you're probably going to end up in a black SUV. So going into that, I had some songs I picked out, you know, Frank Sinatra's New York, Touch the Sky, or not Touch the Sky, sorry, Drive Slow by Kanye West. You know, you're jumping in a black SUV, you got Drive Slow, Kanye West, like, it's cool, right? But then, you know, Spider-Verse just came out. The new Spider-Verse just came out a couple weeks before we went on that trip. And the album is just so good. The soundtracks are just amazing, and they fit such a diverse set of scenarios. And in this case, it just worked out so well for playing a hero and villain rivalry.
Right. So you know, we're on that car ride. You know, we get to the airport, right? And you know, then we touch down and we land, and you know, you and Lyles are in the car, you know, talking and everything. what are some of the moments of this trip that stood out to you and were influential in the creation of the Newest Unseen Journey?
Stylist, when he met with his stylist Quasi, and you're seeing the emotions on his face. You know, Lyles is just so fascinating because he is like a machine to a lot of people. You know, to his coaches, he is a machine that can just be constantly improved and optimized and work more efficiently. And you just have to make slight adjustments to do this and that and the other. But in the eyes of like his stylist, you know, he is his stylist canvas. You know, his stylist is going to use him as an art piece, a walking art piece. You know, I really picked up on that because you can watch these people as they just get so in tune with their craft, you know, picking out different jewelry or sunglasses or shoes, and doing him up just so he can look the best that he possibly can, you know, and I really picked up on a lot of that when I was in that room.
What do you do in order to balance, you know, leading another person versus, you know, also observing and capturing that emotions? Like that's like a, you know, you're doing two things at once. So well, really you're doing three things at once because you actually got to film it, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, how do you
there's a lot going on in these situations. You know, there's, like you said, there's me leading the other camera person. There's other camera crews that are doing their job too, so you have to stay out of their way. There's, you know, the story of the video itself that we're trying to make, and then there's the actual event that's taking place. So there is a lot going on. In Las Vegas, I told our other camera person, Clara, I was like, Clara, just keep the camera rolling, man. Don't turn it off. And that's what we did. We ended up with like a terabyte of footage that 95% of it didn't get used. So this time around, I was like, look, you know, Dom, just focus on getting the details. If they say, hey, like, I really like this shirt, get some B-roll of that shirt, cool, you're done. You know, like I really want to just stay focused on the clips this time. And I noticed that in post-production, I really only walked away with what I needed.
And why would you say that is?
Because I've done it enough times now. You know, I've been in the car riding, and I've recorded so many B-roll clips in the car of the buildings outside, and it's just like, it don't work. It just does not work. You know, there's stuff that I'd rather be recording little emotions from Noah Lyles and then use stock footage of buildings later than record buildings and miss the whole story.
Right. What would you say? What are, you know, because this, you know, the video's done, right? You know, we're running into copyright issues and whatnot, which are getting fixed. But what did you take away from the trip to the editing to just the whole process from beginning to end? Like, what are some key takeaway moments that you're gonna hold on to?
Definitely, you know, don't be afraid to just throw everything away that you did before and try something new. You know, I incorporated elements from the previous season. Now we're on season 2, and I wanted to, you know, make it loud, make it proud. Of course, I said earlier I didn't want to be loud and proud, but you know, this one was pretty bright. And it was very different.
Well, the product itself,
yes,
is loud and proud.
Yeah, the product. My key takeaway when I'm making content is I want somebody who's watching it to just say, "What the heck just happened?" You know, because you sign on to watch one thing and then you end up with a whole other thing and you're just blown away.
I mean, I would say, one of the key takeaways definitely from this conversation is curiosity. You know, it doesn't kill. It inspires, you know what I'm saying? Like, curiosity brings forth inspiration, I feel like. And as a leader, you know, whether you're leading yourself, whether you're leading a team, whether you're leading an organization, you know, inspire your people to be curious and inspire your people to make decisions to find out and surpass that expectation. I also love what you said, don't be afraid to try something new. I mean, I think that just sums it up, where it's just like, you know, in order for an individual, in order for a person to move forward, or, you know, however you define success, you know, you can't be afraid of the unknown. And there's been so much, and it seems like there's been so much in your life where, especially, you know, just graduating college, you know, and, you know, now you've been traveling around the world and, you know, it's different states and whatnot. You know, there's so much unknown that's been happening, but there's been so much good that's come out of it, man. And it's really, really inspiring to see that an individual at 22, really, and like when you start, 21, 20, whatever it might be,
Yeah.
an individual at your age is able to have this experience and this knowledge and is learning to apply for yourself, and not just for yourself, but also for the other people that are coming in behind you.
I'd probably bring this up more than anything, which is, you're never going to be able to please everybody.
Right.
You are going to have people who really like what you do, and then you are going to have people who don't really, have a liking for what you do or like your style, and those people just kind of find their way away.
Mm-hmm.
That's not necessarily bad, but you keep the ones close, really close, because they believe in you, and that's all that really matters.
Yeah, and the impact of your work, man, it remains a testament. I mean, shoot, going back to Lyles and Unseen Journey, I mean, like, Peacock now, it's got something going on, and there's some other things in the works that I'm not sure if we're allowed to talk about, right?
Yeah.
So, again, curiosity, guys, curiosity brings forth inspiration. Inspiration brings forth surpassing expectation. Man, thank you for coming on, bro. Thanks for the conversation. I think there's a lot to take away from here, man. So we'll see you next time. And I want to thank our sponsors. I want to thank Dave & Buster's. I want to thank Francis Zepeto, and I want to thank Elite Realty. You guys are allowing us to have transparent conversations with leaders about their experiences so that we can share them all over the world, and we appreciate it, and we love y'all. Audience, thank you. Leave comments, subscribe. Let us know what you want to hear. Let us know what you want to talk about. We love you. God bless.